Should the BBC now file a motion to recuse or disqualify federal Judge Kuntz, who's been assigned to their BBC case, the case having been reassigned away from Judge Altman and assigned now to Judge Kuntz? Should they move with some amount of velocity to disqualify him because of his prior rulings in favor of Donald Trump in a defamation case involving the Pulitzer Prize Board when he was on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, when he was the chief judge of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, a state appellate court that sits in Orlando? Should they wait around to see if he's going to rule in their favor, be fair and impartial? Or are they going to make the case based on his confirmation hearing answers and other facts that there is an appearance of impropriety and he needs to go now? I'll give you what I think they should do, and I've been in a similar circumstance here on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF. Let's get down to the scandal and swirling around Jeff Kuntz, who was a chief judge of the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. While he was involved with the case of Trump versus the Pulitzer Prize Board, and just before he rendered and wrote the decision in Donald Trump's favor, allowing his defamation case and libel case to go forward, because the Pulitzer Prize Board awarded to the New York Times and the Washington Post for journalism, gave out their prize based on the Russia collusion investigation. Kuntz wrote the order. But while he wrote the order, he was already in the process of applying for a federal judicial judgeship. In fact, just a few days after he issued the ruling in favor of Donald Trump, joined by another judge, Judge Ed Arto, on the same panel, both of them were eventually confirmed as federal judges in a defamation case favoring Donald Trump. And as a reward, it looks like they were placed in the Southern District of Florida, Donald Trump's home federal district court near his home at Mar-a-Lago. So the strategic and tactical question, and I know some of the lawyers involved in the case representing the BBC, is are they now going to move to disqualify Judge Kuntz based on things he said during his confirmation hearing, based on the timeline that suggests that he cannot be fair and impartial? I'll break it down for you. I've filed just these kind of motions before and have been successful, and I'll tell you my belief that they should file it now and not wait around to see what the rulings are going to be. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button on the Legal AF YouTube channel. Let me give it to you as a 35-year practitioner, including in the Southern District of Florida. Jeff Kuntz came from the appellate state court level. It's not unusual. Many of the judges, especially in the Southern District of Florida, came from either private practice where they were lawyers or public defenders or U.S. attorneys or judges, sometimes up to the Supreme Court of Florida, the Circuit Court of Florida. Many in the Southern District of Florida came from the Miami Circuit Court, the Fort Lauderdale Circuit Court, the West Palm Beach Circuit Court, things like that, all within the Southern District of Florida. You know, Judge Aileen Cannon, she was an assistant U.S. attorney up in Fort Pierce, if you can believe it. So it's not unusual that Judge Kuntz had a prior judge relationship. It is unusual that he presided over and wrote the opinion benefiting Donald Trump in a defamation case, and has now been assigned the defamation case by random selection, a combination of the clerk and the judges of the Southern District of Florida. Let me play for you a clip of Senator Kuhn and others inquiring exactly about this point. How can you be fair and impartial when you have and this is before he was even assigned a Trump case. How can you be fair and impartial when it looks like you successfully lobbied for the job while you were doing a tryout and writing a favorable opinion and decision for Donald Trump. Play the clip.
Where the president was suing the Pulitzer Prize Board for defamation. When did your work on that case begin? When were you assigned this case to decide?
I first learned of that case in approximately January of 2025.
Not when the briefs had been filed?
No, Senator. The way it works in our court is we are not assigned cases when the briefs are filed. Once the case is ready for disposition, the clerk randomly assigns it to the judges in the court. And
when did you first speak to Senator Scott's office about your interest in a district court seat in the Southern District of Florida?
I mean, I've had many conversations with Senator Scott's office. The one about an interest in the Southern District of Florida, I believe, was in November of 2024. I don't know the date, but it's in my Senate Judiciary questionnaire.
And when did you release the opinion ruling in President Trump's favor in this matter?
So I learned of the case in January of 2025, and the opinion was released in, I believe it was February 12th, 2025.
That's correct. So you issued an opinion where one of the litigants before you was the president and in favor of the president while you were in active conversation with the senator's office about seeking a federal judicial appointment. Is that correct?
For a position I did not, in fact, get, Senator.
How did you end up in front of me today?
It's a different position, Senator.
Did you consider recusing yourself from that particular decision?
No, and the canons that govern us in Florida, Senator, as I believe this committee has previously heard, it did not call for me to recuse myself. I did not have an interest in the litigation, and none of the basis called for recusal. And the Florida Supreme Court instructs us, the appellate judges, that we are not to recuse unless one of the bases in Canon 3 exists.
Does the Florida canons not require you to recuse if one of the parties before you has an interest that could be reasonably concluded by any common citizen to cloud your judgment on that matter?
Senator, I disagree with that characterization. I had not heard from the White House until after the opinion was final. I had only spoken.
When did you interview with the White House counsel's office?
At the end of February of 2025. I don't know the date, but I believe it's in my Senate Judiciary questionnaire.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hey everybody, Ben Meiselas here from the MeidasTouch Network. I wanted to let you know about my podcast partner, Michael Popok's new law firm. It's called the Popok Firm. Michael Popok's pursuing his dream of starting his own law firm, really based on the popular demand by all the Meidas Mighty and legal AFers who are approaching Michael Popok with their cases and saying, can you help us? And at that time, Popok was not able to. So he went out on his own. He started the Popok Firm, where he is now handling catastrophic injury cases like car accident cases, trucking cases, malpractice cases, big negligence cases, wrongful death cases. So if you or someone you know have a case like this, the consultation with Popok's firm is free. Give him a call. See if you have a case. It's thepopokfirm.com, thepopokfirm.com, or you can call 877-POPOK-AF, P-O-P-O-K-A-F. So 1-877-POPOK-AF. Give Michael Popok a call. And I'm really proud of you, Popok. Thanks for all the hard work you're putting in.
Now, that wasn't the only squirrely thing that happened during his confirmation hearing. He also refused to concede and tell the truth that Joe Biden won the 2020 election. He instead developed that very curious response. Joe Biden was certified as the winner of the election. That's different than acknowledging in the fiber of your being that he was the winner. It makes you an election denier. Here's the clip.
Serve. Let me begin with Mr. Hendershot. Who won the 2020 election?
Senator, I wanted to be mindful of the canons here. I know this question has come up many times in these hearings, and it's become an issue of significant political dispute and debate. So with that, I'd say that that President Biden was certified the winner of the 2020 election.
He won the election. Is that your response?
Senator, I think my response is he was certified as the winner by counting the electoral.
So you're unwilling to say he won the election. How about you, Mr. Roberts?
I'm sorry, Senator.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jones.
I apologize, Senator. I have this same answer as my colleague, Senator.
Same answer
Senate,
as the previous one.
the previous nominee. The Senate did.
Mr. Kuntz, how about you?
Thank you, Senator. And I have the same answer as Mr.
Same
Hendershot.
answer. Unwilling to say that Joe Biden won the election, correct?
As Mr. Hendershot said, it has become a matter of political concern, and Joe Biden.
Well, it's a matter of
certified the
political
winner.
concern, but it's also an issue of fact.
And
Is it not?
Joe Biden was in fact certified the winner of the 2020 election.
Mr.
Now let's take it from the strategy and tactics as a practitioner. About 3 times in my life, I've had facts on my side that would support a motion to recuse a judge. That motion goes to the judge, him or herself. I know that sounds bizarre, but that's where it starts. You don't get to file it with another judge. You have to file it with that judge. And they either, based on their own initiative, they can recuse themselves, or based on your allegations of impropriety under the judicial canons, he can decide thumb up or thumb down. If you don't like that response, then you take it up to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, and they can order the reassignment under various administrative rules as well. What you have to think about is if you lose, you're going to be stuck with this judge. But I think on balance, you already have a worst case scenario. You already have a judge who has shown fealty and loyalty to Donald Trump in a defamation matter. You got nothing to lose. So if I were the lawyers at the Cooley firm that I know reasonably well, and lawyers there, I would take a shot at filing a motion to recuse and try to embarrass him into stepping down and having the case reassigned to another judge. There's no worse judge for the BBC right now than Judge Kuntz. I would take every other judge in the Southern District of Florida, a very proud bench that I'm honored to appear in front of. I had to make this very same decision in a case involving a Fort Lauderdale judge about 20 years ago. You have to advise the client about the ups and the downs of doing it, and there's a downside. But we had the facts on our side, and we filed the motion with the judge because the judge had been caught talking to our adversaries, our opposing counsel, after the trial was over, but while our post-trial motions were pending, and commenting negatively about one of our witnesses to the lawyer. And we filed the motion to recuse, and he denied it. We took it up to the appellate court, and we won, and he was removed. We even had to threaten to go back to the appellate court because he was still planning to rule on pending motions. But it's a very delicate operation. I had another circumstance where I represented a major university in a discrimination Title IX case against a sex abuse counselor working on the campus and a psychologist. And we probably had a good case, but, we decided in consultation with the client not to bring that motion. But we did alert the federal judge that we were thinking about bringing the motion, but we decided not to. We figured we get curry a little bit of a favor there. But if I'm the BBC, I don't hesitate here. And they've been very aggressive, as they need to be. Right now there is a pending motion sitting with Magistrate Judge Lett. Now here's the other curious thing, is the magistrate who sits under the district court judge, in this case Judge Lett, who has issued some pretty great rulings in favor of the BBC about discovery in this matter. She's the one that opened the door to, or Donald Trump opened the door to the judge ordering the production of all the financial and tax records for 400 Trump companies. And she's currently sitting on a motion about how to serve Don Jr., Ivanka, and Jared, because they testified to the Jan 6 committee, and the BBC wants them to testify in this case about the state of mind of their father and how what he was doing was being received by the masses on Jan 6 to defend themselves in the defamation case. So she's sitting on a motion as to whether that can be served by mail since they're dodging service. As of right now, when I last checked the docket, she has not been reassigned off the case. Generally, it's weird to have a judge sit in Fort Lauderdale and have a Miami magistrate. I think that'll eventually get sorted out. And that would be another problem. She has a good history in this case. Or maybe he keeps her in order to insulate himself from attack or abuse as she makes these discovery rulings in the first instance. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to curry favor with Trump and go get his own magistrate and, who's more in line with his jurisprudence, if you know what I mean. The Southern District is interesting. I've been practicing here since the early 90s. It runs from from Fort Pierce down to Key West, with major courthouses in Fort Pierce, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and Key West. And your case can sort of be randomly assigned throughout the district, but generally, wherever you file it, it's going to sit. Sometimes I filed things in Miami and it ended up being assigned to West Palm Beach judge. Trump keeps running down to Miami, even though he lives closer to West Palm Beach and Aileen Cannon. Mainly, I think, because his lawyer is based in Coral Gables, Florida, and Miami, Florida. But it's also weird that two Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals state court judges like Judge Arto and Judge Kuntz got placed in the Southern District of Florida, which is very far from their home in Orlando. It's generally, you take somebody from Miami or Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach and you put them in that spot. So these are hand-picked, bespoke choices by Donald Trump, with the tryout obviously being successful. You can see it with their ruling in his favor in the Pulitzer Prize Board. That was a big feather in their cap to getting the job under Donald Trump. So I think the takeaway is, if I'm the BBC, if I'm Andy Levander, the lawyer representing, I file the motion for recusal. I give the judge the chance to do the right thing, get out from under this case. I mean, I've seen his case assignment. What happens is the transfer clerk prepares a random list of cases that get taken off of each judge's caseload. So it's like 15 or 20 cases randomly on a list. They then send that list to each judge, like Judge Altman, who then double checks it. If there's a good reason why they have to keep a case, and it has to be a very good reason, they can keep it, but then they have to replace it with another case that's been recommended by the clerk. So I have the list and the order from Judge Altman. And he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 17 cases that were just him. Remember, there's 20 judges, so you figure this is done 20 different times. There's going to be 400 or more cases assigned to Judge Kuntz in various places in their life cycle. Some will have just been commenced. Some will be close to trial or summary judgment. Some will be at the beginning, the middle, the end of the case. And you try to give a mix to the new judge so they're not overwhelmed taking on all these federal cases. This guy's never been a federal practitioner before. So, you have a case, GlaxoSmithKline, a pharmaceutical case from Judge Altman being reassigned to this guy, and a company called Sea Swivel versus Rodan Marine, and Clancy versus Watterson Environmental, and KJEMS versus Virgin Cruises. And then you have President Donald J. Trump versus the British Broadcasting Corporation right there. And then reassigned by the Judge Altman, as required by the rules. File the motion to recuse. Take it up to the 11th Circuit if he refuses to recuse. You've got what you need from what happened in his lobbying for the job while he had a case in front of him. What he should have done is recused himself from the Trump case as soon as he made the decision that he was going to lobby to try to get a federal clerkships while Trump was in office. I mean, he's in November 2024, he decides that he wants to be a federal judge. Okay, then you should have recused yourself on a Trump-related case and not issue the ruling and then hours later, days later, become a federal judge on just squeaking by on party lines. We'll follow it all right here on Legal AF and MeidasTouch Network. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button as we continue to grow our pro-democracy channel here and on Legal AF YouTube. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.